Last lecture, we have covered two learning outcomes of the CFA Sustainable Investing module number 9, which is relating to investment mandates, portfolio analytics, which we're finding out why, explanation to that why and importance of mandate construction in ESG investing. We also covered the integration, that explaining how you can embed the ESG screen into the mandates itself so that risk and return can be established. Today, we will start with looking into selection part and outlining those common ESG investment features which are identified via RFP process, which is request for proposal processes from the investment managers or asset managers. Then we will go into quickly into greenwashing, because in morning there was a massive session happened where a lot of people have talked about it. We will try to explain greenwashing example, which tomorrow also Subodh and Ramesh is going to present, and their regulatory requirement, and how reputational risk arise from here. Then we will go inside objectives, where I will try to explain that how different type of clients requires different kind of monitoring, right? What is the objective behind it? And then we will go inside reporting part, where I will be trying to describe mechanism for reporting, monitoring mandates. Last but not least, we will be also looking into those challenges, which will be I will be covering next session along with these presentations. So whenever tomorrow we are doing the presentation, so we will cover the challenges, which is the last part. That if while integrating the ESG reporting, these mandates, analysis, measurement, what are those challenges are there across different asset classes? That's what I will cover tomorrow. Yeah. Now, if you start looking into the introduction of this chapter, it talks about that implementation of portfolio management and integration of ESG in the portfolio is a challenging task. And two way you can do that. The first one is through the mandates, regulations, and expectations set by the client themselves. So you have to understand, right, that how this mandates, regulation, and expectation a client sets through RFP, so that their asset managers are aligned and does the investment exactly as per the requirement. Second way is that how fund manager can communicate the ESG work to their client. So it should be both way traffic, and it can only happen through creating an investment mandate which gives this opportunity. Are you with me? So one is that how client expectations are communicated to the fund manager, and second is how this fund manager communicates back to the client that how he is achieving the ESG work. There is a challenge of agency principle problem here, which we can't ignore, which we covered in the last chapter as well, specifically in the investment side of the business. Now, corporate governance percept of account and alignment is required here. So, corporate governance, which prescribe us how to create a accounting and alignment so that the fund manager doesn't deviate from its mandate, right? And the discussion of RFP actually addresses that how you can evaluate these fund managers before onboarding them, so tomorrow they follow what we are prescribing here. Clear? For the and here the consultant role also you have understood last time, right? The consultant helps the client to find out about to do the due diligence and get that asset allocation ideas of these fund managers, and whether these asset allocation ideas aligns with the client requirement or not. And we have covered a case of pension fund, etc., right? Which is the part of accountability to the client alignment. And here, John Bogle, a very good case study we looked into, yeah, who was the Vanguard founder, right? He said a very good statement where he said that our society has a double agency problem. What is that double agency problem? That one is that agency between corporates and their managers, and another is that the board of director and manager, right? The shareholders and manager. But in the shareholder also there is a agency principal problem. What is that? That somebody else's money this mutual fund has brought and put it into the company, right? So they also have the same problem, the institutional investor versus the client from which he is bringing the money. Clear? So that is why John Bogle of Vanguard founder has talked about it. And he said corporate agents and shareholder, there is a problem, which is they have a duty bound, to manage the mutual fund. And then the pension fund and the mutual fund manager also has a agency principal problem. So it's a double sided problem which we need to address. Similarity between AP and corporate governance can design, agency principal problem can be addressed by good corporate governance. Corporate governance, why it comes in play? Because it can help in two things. One, it will help in the alignment so that the client time horizon and a structure which he wants and which is right for him, right? That can be used for remuneration linkage to the client. So whatever remuneration this fund manager is getting in order to manage the funds and does the allocation for the client, through alignment it can be handled, right? And what you are handling through alignment, the time frame of the client and the time frame of this fund manager investment or asset allocation should be similar. For example, if client requires return after 20 year, he will invest in certain product where return after 20 year is adequate. But in pension fund scenario, is that the case? Absolutely not. What is the case in that scenario? That every month there has to be outgo, and hence he creates a portfolio for long term where every month there is some dividend, some company is declaring, so that company actually servicing the requirement of the my client, and hence agency principal problem through alignment is addressed. Through accountability, if you want to address, then you have to respond to clearly expressed intent of the client, which comes from the investment mandate. Clear? Then you can exactly address the clearly, express incentives to the client, and that happens through the accountability. Now, there are 5 steps to mandate design. How many steps to mandate design? There are 5 steps to mandate construction. What are those steps? The first one is clarifying the client need. Here, you define the ESG strategy in a way the client should be aware about the need in their investment belief. Investment belief has to be reflected in the ESG strategy itself, right? For example, institutional investors are clear on their target, are they not? Right? Which is but harder to define their belief. The institutional investor, you can always understand that they are managing pension fund. If pension fund requirement, they are clear that every month they want a dividend of so much percentage every month so that they can service the client requirement. But the problem with institutional investor is they cannot put a right philosophy because they are not only managing for one company. That belief is missing there, specifically in the case of institutional investor. Second step in mandate design is fully aligning ESG investment with the client belief. The missing part for institutional investor gets addressed in the second step. What they do here, they make sure that they clearly frame, of the basic expectations such as sustainability approach, guidelines, etc. is mentioned there. For example, if it is a faith-based client, he will say, I want to invest in certain activity which promotes my, religion or beliefs, right? If he's put that condition, so whatever investment happen, and anybody who is doing on their behalf, for example, BlackRock, etc., right? They have to make sure that the client beliefs are not distorted. For example, they will not invest in a religious activity which are against the religion or faith-based investor for which they are working. right? Pork, they will not invest in, they will not invest in, cows, slaughtering, etc., etc. So now that is how you can fully align the ESG investing with the client belief. That's a step number two. Step number three is developing client relevant ESG awareness, yeah, mandates. Developing client relevant ESG awareness, a mandate. What does this mean? It means that you have to operationalize the mandate, RFP process, and investment manager in a changing scenario. So if everything is changing, you need to make sure in that scenario also you should be able to operationalize this mandate. Yeah. What does this mean? This means that the asset owner, who is in this case the client, I am talking about the pension fund, the endowment head, etc., etc., who created the endowment, they use questions. Specifically, they will design a question to develop and shortlist only those manager who understand or does such kind of investment. Are you with me? Right? So that is the tailoring, that is the developing the client relevant ESG awareness mandates. Now, tailoring ESG investing approach to the client expectation is another aspect which we should be knowing, where different client have different expectation regarding the different ESG issue, which requires different investment approaches, fund types, fund managers, etc. That understanding has to be there, that there is no one size fits all concept in ESG investing mandate design. You have to design every mandate independently. And here we looked into two examples. One was PLSA Steward Checklist. Second was CPP investment and Australian super. Remember, those two examples are very interesting examples, which I think somebody has covered. If not covered, I will cover. Somebody cover PLSA
No,
stewardship.
no, 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 no.
Okay, then I will cover. No problem. I will cover. Let me cover the fifth step, the last step, which is holding manager to the accountable. And thereby, I have given you a case study. You remember case study, right?
Mm.
It's there in our blogs. Just go and read American Airline Pension Fund, how they are making BlackRock accountable, that BlackRock is no longer doing any investment in green now. They have taken their hand back, right? And anyway, they follow Trump philosophy, so they do not want to be in that area any longer. To ensure the performance of this fund manager, which is in line with clients' two things: finance requirement, finance return requirement, and ESG issues which he wants to tackle, both need to be covered in the performance as well. So when performance matrices are created, you need to make sure that all this data comes in. And how you do that? By two ways. First, by monitoring the meeting between client and fund manager. Monitor those meetings, how it is going. Is client is able to create some stewardship, manage some leadership with this fund manager or not? Second, management and reporting of ESG performance is also happening smoothly. These are the two places where you can hold manager accountable, and these are the five steps which you need to understand in mandate design. First one is clarifying client needs. Second one is fully aligned investment with the client belief. Third, developing client relevant ESG aware mandates. Fourth, tailoring ESG investing approaches to client expectations and holding manager accountable through monitoring process or performance measurement, specifically on financial return requirement and ESG issue, is those five steps which will help you to create this mandate design. Now, quickly, I will cover clarifying the client need, where PLSA stewardship checklist comes into play. Okay. First of all, clarifying the client need, what did we learn? That it incorporates long-term perspective and ESG mindset of the asset owner, which need to be clear, right? Under own view of investment and time horizon. So time horizon and investment ka return requirement has to be clear. That is what means by clarifying client need. What they do, asset owners philosophy you will be capturing here by two way. What kind of financial drive he has? Does he need too much return? Does he needs monthly return? Does he need long term return? All that you need to find it out the through philosophy, which in mandate people just write it as a IMS. investment mandate. Now, second one is ESG factors also you will be considering here. Clear? So these are the two ways through asset owners philosophy you can clarify the client need. Then comes the PLSA stewardship checklist. There are three key requirements in this checklist. First one is First one is how stewardship fits into the investment strategy and policies. How the stewardship, how client can does this client does any stewardship activity first of all? Will he come and go and sit with fund manager and say that fund manager, what you are doing, you are not targeting my area, right? I want alpha coming from bad companies becoming good in climate action. Are you doing this? Are you doing that? That stewardship has to be looked into. Second, how to help, uh, you know, uh, um, modeling the investment objective. That also is required. Second is a clear, agreed understanding of trustee board and relevant organization overall mission, purpose, and objective has to be there. What does this mean? That whatever you are putting into your mission, purpose, objective, and relevant organization, wherever you are trying to, want to make an intervention. For example, you are giving to money to the fund manager, but making sure that fund manager is investing in that company where I want to make an intervention. That's the requirement here. The second one. Third one, a defined set of agreed investment beliefs should be included. So in investment mandate, you have to write all those beliefs which a client thinks is right for him, right? Fourth one is a robust framework for deciding and monitoring need to be created. And fifth one is a shorter form of how stewardship fits into the manager's selection itself is created. So when you select this manager itself, you make sure that he understand I am going to go and interact with even the investee companies where he will be putting money on my behalf. Okay, or he will be taking my beliefs to him and try to guide him. Okay, boss, this is what is required from the investor side. If you do not follow it, I will remove my money from your company. Clear? That's a part one. Second part is ESG factors are viewed in context of overall investment philosophy or purpose. Here example comes is CPP investment objective. If you read that, there are two things which will be obvious to you. First one is maximization of the return. That is requirement of any investor on the earth. So what is different in CPP investment objective, which is for the pension fund, right? They have said maximize my return, but without risk of loss comparing to any, uh, you know, peers. So from my peer, if you compare, I should not get any loss. So no loss, the return should be the maximized, whatever you can maximize. And same time, ensure to maintain responsible investing. So there are two things which you need to remember. First, maximize return without risk of losing the capital. That's a point number one. Point number two is make sure companies are advised and ensure that they maintain responsible investing criteria. This is what was expected from the CPP investment objective when they were creating a mandate for the managers to come and take their money and invest on their behalf. Australian Super, if you see, and their philosophy, if you read, again, two things will be obvious to you. First one, they also want maximization of investment return, but they have not written without risk of loss of, loss comparing to other companies. Here, what they are saying, over a long term focus on the mix of quality asset. So they do not want to invest in only one asset. They want mix of asset and that to quality asset and long term focus is there. Okay, which should increase by investing in four core area, and they have given those four core area, right? They have given that we aim for enhancing enhancing my returns. Active managers, what I need is active manager who invest through asset allocation and stock selection. Always remember, active investor will always do is what? Two things. First is asset allocation actively, so every time they will keep on changing as the strategic allocation is disaligned, they will do the DAA and capture the alpha. which is dynamic asset allocation and capture alpha, which is asset allocation. That's the active manager characteristic number one. Characteristic number two is stock selection. So they will also select those stocks which aligns with the ESG issue where the client wants an intervention. Clear? Here, that is the second one. Second one is this one. Third one is use our scale to reduce the cost and better structure the investment. So they want to reduce the cost, okay, and they want better structure in the construction. Last one, they have said, Australian Super has said, we are aware of our responsible to the broader community. So they are not only targeting their own pension holder, but they also want to cover the community around them. Okay, so they also have a good lifestyle. That is another fourth criteria they have put, and they said that you, whenever you are investing, make sure you are investing considering this four core area. These are some example of how company creates their investment mandates. Clear? How to develop policy and philosophy is another thing which we have covered last time, where we talked about a sustainable investment strategy consists of different building blocks. Different building blocks. What are those? It is balance between risk and return and the thesis of the institution. Thesis is what? ESG based thesis. So it is a combination of what? Risk, return, and thesis. These are the three things which they consider to create a sustainable investment strategy. And that's how you develop your policy and procedure. Clear? Now, are ESG factor more important for risk management and value is one of the question asked in this particular part. Are ESG factor are more important for risk management or value is the question has been asked. And the answer comes from two sides. One is the risk management side, where they are saying exclusion of the company. Whenever you try to do risk management, what do? You apply exclusion screening. You exclude all those non-performing sector, geographic related stuff where you believe my investment will be exposed. Clear? Risk management. Second one is value creation. How do you do value creation? By overweighting on certain concept, specifically top 10 percentile company who has a ESG, good ESG performance. So you will look into the rating, take the top 10% of those and say that I will invest only in this company and I will overweight in this company and underweight in companies where I believe they will not perform in long term. This is how you establish whether ESG factors are more important for risk management or value creation. Clear? Now, second part which you have to understand in developing policy and procedure or philosophy for a institutional investor is answer the question what ESG factors are material for this company, which we have learned in chapter number 7 and 6. Clear? Now we have come to fully aligning investment with client ESG belief, where question of pension fund concern about climate change came. Who covered this part, this case?
No, no one.
This one also no one.
No, no one.
That's really bad. But we didn't
आपने
distribute.
दिया ही नहीं ना, आपने दिया ही नहीं।
अच्छा दिया ही नहीं था क्या?
आपने दिया होता तो करते नहीं क्या? बिल्कुल
चलिए
करते।
तो फिर मैं ही करता हूँ.
आप फटाफट बता दीजिए सर, जल्दी हो जाएगा आपसे तो।
देखिए, the key concept herein, whenever we talk about, so once you have done is the first step, clarifying the client need. We did it, right? By learning how to create policy, procedure, philosophy, like we looked into CPP investing objective, we looked into Australian super objective, etc., along with PLSA stewardship checklist. Now, we have come to the second step of creating this mandate. How we do that? We need to first explain or answer that how will be shaping our strategic asset allocation. Long term mein, how will be investing? So you remember global frontier, global
एफिशिएंट
efficient frontier, right? And we will do that strategic investment at an optimal level of where the tangent of my line hits and it become a tangent, right? from risk-free rate, I will go to risk-free rate on x-axis. Subodh has explained really well, and he posted a photograph as well. Subodh, why don't you post that photograph? Just put a reminder there so everybody knows we are talking about that. Yeah, in the group, if possible.
Which photograph, sir?
The
वही वाला
global.
ग्राफ सर, वो जो आपने पोस्ट किया था,
अच्छा, ओके ओके।
उसी को री री कर दीजिएगा, वो है हमारे उसमें ग्रुप में।
So strategic asset allocation is the way you put it a point where the line which is on the RFR, risk-free rate, starts and touches your global efficient frontier. So you have a debt and equity which is efficient, and that should be your target in long term. Now, question which I will be asking for fully aligning investment with the climate ESG belief is ESG as risk management tool or a source of investment advantage, which we have just talked about, right? वैल्यू क्रिएशन करेगा कि रिस्क मैनेजमेंट करेगा? अगर
दो।
रिस्क मैनेजमेंट कर रहा है तो हम क्या करेंगे? एक्सक्लूजन, विल
हम्म।
पुट दैट फिल्टर। और अगर उसको वैल्यू क्रिएशन करना है, देन आई विल टेक ओवरवेट और आई विल टेक अ विजन ऑन दोज स्टॉक। टिल्टिंग आई विल डू। टिल्टिंग इज a strategy which we learn in chapter number 7. I will do to get more exposure to those companies which are good in ESG, top 10 percentile. Yeah. Now, once I have decided to do, instead of doing debt or equity, I have decided to do these two way. So I will create a strategic asset allocation, which I want to maintain over a 5 year, 10 year, whatever client horizon, time horizon is, and his return requirement is, I will follow this for the long term exposure in terms of which asset class, which geography I will be going and selecting which kind of stock. But this may also inform decision around asset manager DAA, dynamic asset allocation, or tactical asset allocation, or the short term variation. Sometimes that stock can go down very badly. Will I be selling them? Of course, I can't sell them, but I will reduce the exposure to that point in time to capture the alpha. स्टॉक ऊपर जाए या नीचे जाए, ऑलवेज रिमेंबर इन्वेस्टर मेक्स मनी। स्टॉक ऊपर जाए या नीचे जाए, इन्वेस्टर ऑलवेज मेक्स मनी। व्हाट इज रिक्वायरमेंट हियर? व्हाट इज द कैच हियर? अगर दोनों साइड में पैसे बनते हैं तो किसको पैसे क्यों नहीं बन रहे हैं, पूछ सकता है ना कोई। तो
हम्म।
कैच इज दिस, दैट डू यू हैव सफिशिएंट कैश इन योर पॉकेट? हैव यू इंक्लूडेड दैट एज ए पार्ट ऑफ एस कि हाउ मच कैश यू विल मेंटेन? लाइक अ बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर यू मस्ट बी डिसाइडिंग ऑन इट, राइट? कितना डिविडेंड देना है, कितना कैश रखना है। वर्किंग कैपिटल प्लस प्लस रखते हैं ना हम लोग, थोड़ी सारा
हम्म।
पैसा उठा के इन्वेस्ट
Even we keep
गवर्नमेंट।
reserves also.
सॉरी,
We keep reserves also.
इंडीड, एब्सोल्युटली, एंड द
रिजर्व
रिजर्व
रखते
वाज।
हैं लेकिन फिर डिविडेंड भी डिक्लेयर करते हैं सर।
हाँ, डिविडेंड डिक्लेयर करते हैं और करना भी चाहिए, बट
हम्म।
कैन यू इरोड योर कैपिटल? कैन यू रिमूव द कैपिटल फ्रॉम द कंपनी विच रिक्वायर्स फॉर द ग्रोथ विच यू आर एक्सपेक्टिंग दिस ईयर? मुझे नए ज्योग्राफी।
गवर्नेंस का तो एस्पेक्ट ये है ना कि आपको कैपिटल कैपिटल एलोकेशन बहुत ध्यान से करना है।
हाँ, बस यही पॉइंट यही है। और नीचे जाए ऊपर जाए उससे डरना नहीं है। आपको अपना डायनेमिक एसेट एलोकेशन रेडी रखना है एंड यूज इट। पेंशन फंड ने यहां पे क्या करा? दे हैव a strong belief about something and they want to make an impact of climate change. That is what this pension fund wanted to do. Thank you, Subodhi. I can see that now. Yeah. The fund might establish multiple mandate investing in new technologies which are related to climate tech. For example, renewable energy generation. So they will give funds to that manager, and manager will align this mandate that all this money goes to only climate change related investment. For example, renewable energy generation. Second, fund mainstream equity and debt mandates may include screens which excludes Coal India, Sail India, all those fossil fuel investment kind of stuff, or Reliance Industry, Aramco. They will not invest only. Fund may require that any sovereign bond which mandates include active ESG overlay that seek to limit exposure to those countries where physical impact of climate change is happening or going to be most acute in some point in time, like China. Are you with me? Or even India, people can say now. देयर इज अ पॉसिबिलिटी कि सॉवरेन इंडिया में अगर फंड में पैसे लगाए तो वो पैसा जाएगा सीधे क्लाइमेट के अगेंस्ट, दे विल क्रिएट मोर थर्मल पावर प्लांट। पॉसिबल है ना। लेकिन इसीलिए एनटीपीसी हैज लॉन्च अनदर कंपनी, न्यूक्लियर पे लॉन्च कर
नो
दिया,
इश्यूज, बात कर सकते हैं। हाँ हाँ,
रिन्यूएबल रिन्यूएबल भी
नो
लॉन्च कर
इश्यूज
दिया।
यार, नो प्रॉब्लम। हाँ हाँ,
सर ऐसा है, अभी थोड़ा
रिन्यूएबल भी यूज कर दिया एंड
न्यूक्लियर ऑल्सो सर, न्यूक्लियर
न्यूक्लियर
पावर।
भी डाल दिया। एब्सोल्युटली, दिस इज व्हाट पेंशन फंड कंसर्न वाज एड्रेस्ड। द थर्ड वन, थर्ड एग्जांपल इज फाउंडेशन इन्वेस्टमेंट कंपनी। वी लर्न फाउंडेशन, व्हाट आर दोस फाउंडेशन? अजीम प्रेमजी फाउंडेशन। उसका इन्वेस्टमेंट पोर्टफोलियो कंसर्न क्या था? ह्यूमन राइट्स अब्यूजेस। सो दे डू नॉट वांट टू प्रमोट ह्यूमन राइट अब्यूजेस। अगेन रिस्क के हिसाब से देख लीजिए, वैल्यू क्रिएशन के हिसाब से देख लीजिए। रिस्क में क्या करेगा? वो एक्सक्लूड कर देगा वैसी कंपनी विच आर नोन फॉर अब्यूजिंग ह्यूमन। ओला इज वन ऑफ दोज एग्जाम्पल। वहाँ टाइम ही किसी को नहीं एलोकेटेड है। एवरीबडी हैज टू वर्क 18 आवर्स टू 24 आवर्स। स्लीप इज नॉट अलाउड इवन ऑन वीकेंड। सो क्या हुआ उस कंपनी में? दिस फाउंडेशन विल नॉट इन्वेस्ट। फाउंडेशन इन्वेस्टमेंट पोर्टफोलियो, उसका इन्वेस्टमेंट बिलीव क्या है कि ह्यूमन राइट प्रोटेक्ट होना चाहिए, अब्यूज नहीं होना चाहिए। Here, human right complete violation is there. So he can apply a screen across their portfolio, requiring that any investment facing significant allegation from there, they will withdraw or they will not invest. Second, screen out exposure to certain countries where human rights abuses are prevalent. कोई भी अफ्रीकन कंट्री चले जाइए, right? So they will not invest in that. That is why Saudi Arabia, when it opened up under MBS, they made sure that whole world knows that now women can drive there, now women can go to malls without their husband. They made it. They called उस समय लगार्ड थी IMF की चीफ, right? They called her for this investment meet. वो शातानो की, क्या नाम है उसका, माता सो की, वी वर्क का इन्वेस्टर, सॉफ्ट बैंक का हेड, या सॉफ्ट बैंक का चेयरमैन, he called him as well and he committed also $100 billion of investment, etc. So now when they opened up the economy, they became from human right abuser or so called to be human right abuser to a pro country. Now fully aligning investment with client ESG belief. Two examples. One is pension fund concerned about the climate change, which we looked into. Yeah, they work hard to maximize the return. Mandate investing specifically in renewable energy technology and decarbonization targets, which we looked just now. Foundation of investment portfolio concerned to human right. Also, we have seen they can do it through screening. Developing ESG investment philosophy, I have already covered. थोड़ा ऊपर नीचे हो रहा है यहाँ पे, okay? Okay, so this slide was supposed to be before. I was speaking from the notes, but this was the slide which you should be referring. So take a screenshot, everyone. Take a screenshot, please. Take a screenshot. Yeah, because when I was speaking, I thought this was the screen, but the screen was different, right? And these are the dimension you use under McKinsey provision of exhibit 1, right? Where they talk about public reporting, performance management, resource of organization, tools and processes, all negative screening, positive screening, protective engagement. This we have just talked in summary wise. Now, fourth example was relating to multi-strategy investment firm. So if it, for example, if there is an investment firm which manages both fundamental and quantitative ESG strategy, both of it, okay? So they can measure it in numbers and they also have some kind of provisional discussions. They will highlight the fact that active ownership activity, which I told you, such as engagement, right? And then active also we have talked about two sides. How many of you remember active two sides?
स्ट्रेटेजी, इसमें स्ट्रेटेजिक एसेट एलोकेशन करता है और डायनेमिक एसेट एलोकेशन से।
बिल्कुल, asset allocation, which is strategic and dynamic, he can keep on changing. And second is stock selection. He will also go to stock selection criteria. So if that kind of company is there, he can go into both side. How he will do it? he will be more relevant for concentrated fundamental strategies rather than more diverse quantitative portfolio. If the company is which is multi-strategy, आप क्या find करेंगे? Question will be exactly like this. That what will you find in their portfolio? So you will find a concentration of fundamental strategy more, even though they are multi-strategy. Clear? And quantitative or diverse quantitative portfolio will be lesser because of the application of ESG strategy to certain classes such as commodity, money market funds is not available. So even though he wants to do investment in everything, but still he will be limited to equity and debt. Why? Because commodity and money market में ESG related investment का भी opportunity is not there. And that's why multi-strategy firms you will find when you will look into it that they are having more concentrated fundamental strategies, right? Such as issued by PRI. Now, ESG policy disclosure requires two sides. फर्स्ट, क्या क्या आएगा इसमें वो हमें जानना है, व्हाट ऑल इट विल बी कवरिंग. सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल ईएसजी पॉलिसी डिस्क्लोजर में यू नीड टू राइट हु इज द पोर्टफोलियो मैनेजर. Fund manager themselves, hoping to win mandate to reflect the ESG consideration, will seek to develop their own policy that fully integrate with ESG approaches into the portfolio management. And that is the duty of whom? Portfolio manager. What is he doing? He is addressing ESG issues at portfolio reviews. Whenever portfolio review come to him, he makes sure that ESG issues are addressed there. He establishes rationale and methodology for ESG portfolio level assessment. He is the one who will put that philosophy, how we will be checking portfolio level. Third, he will determine ESG impact to the portfolio. What kind of impact the ESG is going to have on the portfolio. Fourth, disclosure of ESG exposure to investor also happens here. Clear? What all it will be covering? ESG information disclosure में क्या क्या होएगा? Annual reports होएगा. ESG activity across portfolio. Frequency of engagement will be written, that how many time these board of directors in the client side or in the fund manager side is interacting with those company. Okay. Highlight the activity of their outcome. After they met the independent director, after they met the CFO of the company, what has happened? Did it really impacted the ESG or match with the ESG belief of the client or not? Then only fully alignment of investment can happen. Once that is completed, the third step comes into play. What is the third step? That you develop a client relevant ESG aware investment mandate. Client relevant ESG aware investment mandate. Okay, you cannot invest in traditional investment. Clear? What do you do here? Same thing is written, but what do you do here is this, that asset manager employs a diverse responsible investment strategies. Clear? They have active investor who can focus on company specific research or utilizes some quantitative methods. Clear? Some asset manager will see companies with a history of sustained financial performance. They want ESG aware companies, but they also want sustained financial performance, contrasting to passive investment strategy where you are putting ESG priority only. ESG factors are integrated into various ways, including threshold. You can put a threshold that below 70% score company may I will not invest. ESG factor may serve as a basis for stewardship engagement tomorrow, saying that, look, you are not maintaining the required status. LTI intensity, lost time injury ki intensity, I have decided should be so much percentage. And what result I am getting is so much percentage. So I will engage with them. Clear? And these are those investment approaches which can have any of these. And these are the brief description of investment approaches. Now, sample of ESG approach through RFP. What are those checklists which you must include into your RFP so that you select a guy which fits your requirement, which is tailoring ESG investment approaches, right? We talked about it. Tailoring ESG approaches. So when we go to tailoring ESG approaches, of course, we will talk about more of greenwashing, etc. But right now we are developing the client relevant ESG our mandate. So what we'll be checking in the RFP, we will be checking first financially material ESG information in the investment decision. So not only ESG information I need from my fund manager who will be filling this form, but also I want to showcase that did you find something which has a financial materiality as well? Do you do such kind of investment in past? Have you done such kind of investment in past? Second, I want you to write about do you track an ESG index? Which one? Or do you use any ESG index as an investment in yours where you will be investing? Disclose it in my RFP. Third, do you systematically apply ESG criteria to exclude certain investment or determine if the investment is eligible for inclusion of fund portfolio? Fourth, can I put a set allocation for targets or constraints on the ESG characteristics of the investment? Set target or constraint for fund level ESG constraints are very essential here. Last but not least, I have just covered these many points. Consider the ESG issues when exercising the right and position associated with the ownership, management, oversight, and funds asset. Do you do that or not? And will you be doing it or not? Put it into your proposal and send it to us. If you, after reviewing all these questions and your answer fits with the client belief, then only we will be investing with you as a fund manager. Now, RFP process, there is a steps which we need to follow. What are those steps? First, consultant and client typically assess their fund manager capability. This is the duty of either consultant of the client or the client themselves. What they assess? They assess that whether this fund manager has this capability which can meet my risk return and investment philosophy. Three things, right? Through this RFP process, it becomes easier and you can do even subsequent interviews so that you ensure that there is a satisfactory financial return within risk parameters which I have set, including ESG risks. How you do it? You do it two ways. First, due diligence process you have to do before appointing that manager. Check all their financial, does their financial supports the return they claim? For example, if they are claiming that I give 20% return even though I invest in climate tech investments, they have already filled how big portfolio they used to manage. What I will do, I will take percentage of that and check, do they have 220 criteria met or not? If their earning is below than that, I will understand they never made 20%. रेवेन्यू की बात हो रही है, नेट प्रॉफिट की बात उनकी नहीं हो रही है, रेवेन्यू बोल रहा हूं मैं. सो रेवेन्यू इज अ परसेंटेज ऑफ द एसेट अंडर मैनेजमेंट. So if they are saying that this asset they are managing with this investment criteria and their return is not supporting, their financials are not supporting, I will understand. Yes, there will be chances of 30 to 40% difference between these numbers. But it is a guess. This is one of those criteria in due diligence. There are several criteria in due diligence which you can judge on. But one of these criteria is their revenue should be in accordance to whatever they are claiming. करेक्ट ना? सारे टेंडर में ऐसे ही करते हैं हम लोग. फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट मंगा लेते हैं उस आदमी का, पता चल जाता है कि भाई जो बात कर रहा है सही कर रहा है क्या. You must have seen all government institution ask for 3 years financial statement to be included in the proposal. If that area is new, you do not have enough bidders. Correct, Rajni ji?
सर ये
करते रहे ना,
भी है आपको, और क्रेडिट वर्दीनेस आदमी की देखनी है ना, तो नेटवर्थ भी कभी कभी उसका भी मांगना,
मंगाते हैं.
और सीए से वेरीफाइड भी मंगाते हैं, और फिर उसका
सीएस
यूडीएन भी जनरेट जो होता है वो वेरीफाई करता है।
करेक्ट. अच्छा हाँ, वो उसका भी कर लेते हैं जिसने इसको सर्टिफाई किया है.
सीए का
करेक्ट.
हवा में बात नहीं कर सकता था।
कोई भावा में बात नहीं कर सकता. एंड दैट इज हाउ द ड्यू डिलिजेंस हैपेंस. Clear? Basis of asset owner to test the potential service provider is another area you can try in RFP process. Fund manager has to demonstrate value through ESG work. How they can showcase that? They can showcase that, look, last year I did so many stewardship and engagement activity. I do allocate engagement efforts between different form of engagement. Okay. For example, here is that one of those example that when he has a passive or index tracking, what kind of mandate choice he's making. Mandate choice are trust should consider index benchmarks and ESG tilts here. So mandate में क्या लिखेंगे आप लोग कि the trust requires to consider the index benchmark, certain index benchmark, because I want to only get exposure to index, and ESG tilt I need in that index to clearly be shown to me. That is the mandate. What is the investment integration here? No or limited manager direction in stock selection. I don't need any direction here. Why? Because I want only index investment. सो इंडेक्स में अगर 25 स्टॉक है, जो इंडेक्स का वहां मार्केट कैप के हिसाब से उसका वेट है, मान लीजिए कि टोटल मार्केट कैप में निफ्टी में आज 550,000 5 लाख करोड़ का पड़ा हुआ है, मान लो, इमेजिन करो आप, राइट। उसका वेट देख लूंगा, रिलायंस का कितना मार्केट कैप है उसमें, इस टाटा का कितना है, अडानी का कितना है, एंड आई विल से दैट आई वांट दिस एक्सपोजर, दैट्स इट। मैं 5 लाख करोड़ नहीं लगा रहा हूं, मैं 5 लाख लगा रहा हूं, लेकिन 5 लाख को आप सिमिलरली डिवाइड करो जैसा इंडेक्स में है, एंड टेक अ लिटिल बिट टिल्ट फॉर द ईएसजी। अडानी को थोड़ा कम कर देना, टाटा को थोड़ा ज्यादा कर देना, रिलायंस को पूरा कम कर देना, ऐसा। दिस इज टिल्टिंग एंड बेंचमार्किंग। क्लियर? इंटीग्रेशन आपको समझ में आ गया। नाउ इंगेजमेंट कैसे करेंगे यहां पे? तो मैनेजर कैन exert influence on the companies through engagement and voting. प्रॉक्सी वोटिंग आपको याद होगा चैप्टर 7 में।
हम्म।
देयर इज ए स्कोप फॉर एंड कहाँ कर सकते हैं प्रॉक्सी वोटिंग? ओनली इक्विटी में, डेट में तो कर ही नहीं सकते।
हम्म।
क्लियर? देयर इज ऑल्सो ए स्कोप ऑफ इन्फ्लुएंस ऑन द मार्केट एंड सिस्टम वाइड इशूज। नाउ एक्टिव इक्विटी, आई हैव ऑलरेडी टोल्ड यू, सिलेक्शन में आप कर सकते हो, स्टॉक सिलेक्शन में एक्टिव इक्विटी का इन्वेस्टमेंट हो सकता है, एंड एलोकेशन में आप कर सकते हो। दीज आर द ओनली टू वे, राइट? यू रिमेंबर, यू कैन डू टू वेज। ठीक है? एक्टिव मैनेजर, हाउ दे कैन वर्क? दे कैन वर्क थ्रू एसेट एलोकेशन एंड थ्रू स्टॉक सिलेक्शन। अगर एक्टिव फिक्स्ड इनकम की बात कर रहे हैं तो यहां पे एंगेजमेंट कैसे होगा? यहां तो बहुत दिक्कत होती है, यहां तो प्रॉक्सी वोटिंग भी नहीं है। सो इट इज पॉसिबल फॉर मैनेजर टू हैव engagement with borrowers on material ESG risk, particularly at the time of issuance itself. You can call them that, look, you want to buy my bond, but when you are buying my bond, you will be deploying only in this such cases, or exclude such cases, right? बिकॉज वोटिंग तो आएगी नहीं कभी भी, वो तो आपको इंटरेस्ट पे करेगा, आपको लेके चुप बैठना है। क्लियर? सो हाउ यू कैन एंगेज विद देम? इन द बिगिनिंग इटसेल्फ आप कर लेते हो। रियल एस्टेट में कैसे करेंगे? तो मैनेजर कैन एंगेज विथ टेनेंट्स एंड लोकल कम्युनिटी टू एड्रेस पोटेंशियल इशू एंड ड्राइव द चेंज। They will say, they will keep doing this town halls and meet those tenants or the community and get it sorted out. That is how you do client relevant ESG aware mandate. Now, ये RFP प्रोसेस होगा कैसे? RFP प्रोसेस करेंगे कैसे? RFP प्रोसेस पॉसिबल रूट्स जो है फॉर इनकॉर्पोरेटिंग ESG फैक्टर बाय डिफरेंट एसेट क्लासेस, इट्स स्टार्ट विद एसेट ओनर असेसिंग इट, that whether if the fund manager responsible investment strategy aligns with their broader investment philosophy or not. जो भी उसकी स्ट्रैटेजी है, मान लो उसकी स्ट्रैटेजी है 50% इक्विटी, 30% डेट एंड 20% इन क्रिप्टो, एंड आई एम डेड अगेंस्ट क्रिप्टो, will it align with my philosophy? Can I assess this fund manager that he is not capable to run my fund? Absolutely yes. Client can focus on understanding the investment decision making process by evaluating how ESG factor works. We can also assess overall portfolio and test specific cases, which really reveals the substance of fund manager ESG integration approach itself. Is he able to do it properly or not? What client does here? Clients seek the transparency into the factor which are driving investment decisions so that it can be ensured that genuineness and effectiveness of ESG integration over time is reflected. Now, ongoing dialogues and monitoring meeting aim to assess, portfolio consistency. That is the only way you can keep on meeting those guys, have a dialogue, so listen from him, give him the feedback so that your ESG integration robustness is maintained. Metrics like portfolio turnover can be seen. You can ask him how many times you are buying a stock and selling it. If you are doing too many times, Baba, you are not aligning. You are capturing, trying to capture alpha through DAA. मत कैप्चर करो भाई, मेरे को चाहिए लॉस होगा चलेगा लेकिन मेरे को उस खराब वाली कंपनी में नहीं जाना. तो he will say I have a TAA, tactical asset allocation, which I am not going to खराब company. I am going into company where I can make impact. He will prove you, and that's why you need dialogue. Clear? Metrics like portfolio turnover, Sharp ratio, along with ESG portfolio assessment tool help client to evaluate the same. Now, engagement and voting is the most important part, where effective stewardship delivery remains in the focus, along with who does the stewardship work and how resources are assigned to the stewardship need to be seen. कितने लोगों को यहाँ पे आपने रखा है जो जाके इंगेज करेंगे उनके बोर्ड में? होता था ना, हम लोग सीएफओ को, हमारी कंपनी का सीएफओ को अपनी सब्सिडरी कंपनी में इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर बना के भेज देते थे, नॉन एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर बना के भेज देते थे. नॉर्मल है ना, ये प्रोसेस नॉर्मल है. सो आर वी इन्वेस्टिंग इन दोज गाइज, आर वी पेइंग देम लिटिल एक्स्ट्रा? That need to be checked. So engagement and voting then properly can happen because he's attending every meeting, because he's getting some money against it. So he is definitely doing some stewardship there. Assessing the quality of engagement and voting also is required here, right? That it is very nuanced word. Engagement nuance is long term and hard to gauge the effectiveness. Is my CFO, who is the independent director in my another company, is he really doing something there? Is his engagement quality is good? Does he properly vote? Which topic he has voted positively, which topic he has gone against? That also need to be assessed in order to get a good voting and engagements. How the fund manager vote in general is the case here we are discussing, not the CFO and the subsidiary. We are talking about how my fund manager is engaging. What process does the manager reach in the decision making, and how did manager vote on a specific controversial material is what our focus should be. Right? Now, greenwashing and its consequences, we have already looked some examples. Anybody wants to revise it quickly? क्या हमने कवर करा था ग्रीन वॉशिंग में?
We have basically seen the examples of a greenwashing where the people have claimed and found to be untrue. So, several uh, things were there, but primarily each example was covering one or other concept.
Very good. Very
So,
good.
like कि ग्रीन वॉशिंग नहीं करना चाहिए, वी नो. ग्रीन वॉशिंग होने के बाद पेनल्टी कहीं हुई है, कहीं नहीं हुई है. So, theoretical portion we have not done, but I think when we were talking about the example, we spoke the English about that also.
Very good.
But if you can go through this quickly, sir, then it is better.
No, no, of course, of course, of course. That's why we will go quickly. ग्रीन वॉशिंग फर्स्ट आपको समझना होगा होता क्या है. फर्स्ट, हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू अंडरस्टैंड ग्रीन वॉशिंग? अपने हिसाब से डिफाइन करिए ग्रीन वॉशिंग. क्या
Claim
लगता है ग्रीन वॉशिंग मतलब क्या?
You are claiming that you have done something which is favoring the environment and you are saving the environment and you are handling the risk like plastic waste. But actually, your claims are found to be untrue. And they are, or you have exaggerated your claims, or you have spoken so much, but actual the number is not there. Or you have taken a fictitious data, or you have spoke about those emissions which were beyond your control, and you have taken those criteria which were not in your control but with the control with the exchequer or the government was controlling it. So but you claim that you have achieved this, but actually you had not achieved this, and you are still lagging behind, and you are doing the same damage to the environment as the others are doing.
Absolutely. Coca-Cola case was that.
कोका कोला था और ये मेरा नेस्ले वाला था।
Nestle
It's
वाला
like
था.
और सर ने भी आज बोला था,
misrepresentation.
रमेश जी ने भी बोला था
Absolutely right.
One is a misrepresentation.
मिस
Means they
रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ
put down a bottle that 100% recyclable, but that bottle is never
Ah,
recycled.
यस।
no, they said from C plastic, I'm recycling and putting those bottles. That's
देन
what they
मरीन
claim.
प्लास्टिक।
They themselves are not knowing where from that bottle is coming. And that's why Subodhji brought in EPR. Correct, Subodhji?
Yes, yes.
Extended producer right, extended plastic, responsibility. All that has come in because these guys were not even checking it. They might have done right thing. They must have allocated to one agent who was supposed to bring all this waste material from the sea and recycle and give it to him. That agent might be cheating him, but responsibility remains with the
एजेंट
buyer.
माइट
No?
बी चीटिंग हिम, यस। वो जी को ये बताना है कि एजेंट जो बीच का है वो
हाँ.
इतनी बदमाशी करता है सर, वो आपको बेवकूफ बनाता है।
क्योंकि
निपट बेवकूफ।
आप तो आते हो बिगिनिंग में चेक करने के लिए उसको कि भाई ये सही आदमी है कि नहीं है. बीच
सर
में
वो आपने तो
टाइम.
टेंडर से लिया है ना उसे, आपने तो टेंडर से लिया, वो टेंडर जीत गया, उसने कमिट किया, कर दिया, बाकी सारा
पर वो
काम।
टेंडर में ही इज अप्रूव्ड वेंडर फॉर पोल्यूशन कंट्रोल बोर्ड, इज
हाँ,
अप्रूव्ड बाय
राइट.
पोल्यूशन
वहां
हमारे पास
उसने पूरा
ऑप्शन ही नहीं
होमवर्क
है.
किया हुआ है।
हमारे पास ऑप्शन ही नहीं है ना पहले. अब वो
हम्म।
तीन ही आदमी है, तीनों मिलके बैठे हुए हैं कि सबने 10% ही सी से लाना है. मेहनत है. पीपल नहीं है. और मार्जिन ज्यादा मिलेगा ना. अगर मैं चाइना से मंगा लूंगा और यहाँ पे पकड़ा दूंगा, इनको बोलूंगा रिसाइकिल है, ऐसे भी चाइना रिसाइकिल ही बेचता है.
ये हो सकता है सर,
हम्म।
ये करते हैं ये लोग।
This is the challenge. And here, company gets caught. Not these guys, because company का
फाइनली
responsibility.
लाइबिलिटी तो हमारी फिक्स होगी ना।
That you need
But
to.
in our case, in one of my case, if somebody has thrown the waste outside instead of disposing properly, even though it was a sale on the gate, we were responsible.
यस।
Actually,
यस,
I was caught.
एकदम एकदम। मैंने भी कई बार झेला है ये।
यही डिसीजन मेकर के साथ यही प्रॉब्लम है ना. काम करेंगे ठुल्ले लोग, लेकिन भुगतना पड़ेगा.
वो सर्टिफिकेट ले आता है, साइन वाइन करा के ना,
वो
सबसे ले
सब,
आता है।
सर सब फॉल्स करके लाते हैं ना. वो बोलेगा कि मैंने 25 लोग डिप्लॉय करे थे कचरा लेने के लिए. दे विल टेल यू दैट देयर वर 25 पीपल वाज ऑन माय रोल हु कलेक्टेड दिस डेटा बाय this plastic by going inside the sea. So many kilometer they went, they collected and came back. पता चला वो बाहर ही नहीं निकला है वो आदमी घर से, लेकिन सारा बिल बन के आ गया है.
सब कुछ बैठे बैठे कर देता हूँ।
हम सब बैठे बैठे वो उसका सेटिंग है. वो बोट वाले से, वो नेट वाले से सब बना के बिल आएगा उसके पास. एंड नाउ विल
ये
ब्रिंग
जो
एंड गिव इट
कचरा
टू
है ना, ये
सर
कचरा
वो
सोर्स ऑफ
एग्जाम्पल
रेवेन्यू।
लाइक वो ईवी की कंपनी में 2 ही लोग एम्प्लॉय थे व्हेन मैक्सिमम टर्नओवर हुआ है जो मंथ में.
वो कौन सी कंपनी थी?
ये
जेंसॉल.
जेंसॉल में
जेंसॉल में दो ही इम्प्लॉय
दिसंबर
किया.
24 में मैक्सिमम टर्नओवर 2 वर्कर्स वर एम्प्लॉयड.
जेंसोल, ये जो अपना वो वाली अभी
हाँ
रिसेंट
हाँ.
ब्लू
वो
स्मार्ट
पुणे
वाली।
पुणे
ब्लू
के बाजू
स्टार.
में ही है. हमने एक शेड लिया है, कुछ काम ही नहीं हो रहा है उधर, और वो महीने में मैक्सिमम टर्नओवर दिखा.
क्या तमाशा है भाई, क्या और आप पता कैसे लगाओगे ना. आप बताओ. मैं इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर हूँ उस कंपनी में. अरे सीईओ सीएफओ को नहीं मालूम है. आपको क्या मालूम चले, और मालूम भी है तो उसने इतना अच्छा पक्का पेपर बनाया हुआ है कि किसी को नहीं मालूम चलेगा. ये रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑडिटर की थी, राइट, कि इन्वेंट्री चेक करे, पीपल चेक करे. गवर्नमेंट की थी कि भाई मैन पावर बोल रहा है 25 लोग लगा के रखा है, आदमी दो ही दिखता है जब हम जाते हैं. किसकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है? कोई चेक, अगर सारे सिस्टम फेल हो रहे हैं तो व्हाट इंडिपेंडेंट
जब
डायरेक्टर.
मैन्युफैक्चरिंग प्रोसेस का जब ऑडिट होता है, जब कॉस्ट ऑडिट होता है, जो कॉस्ट ऑडिटर का पोर्शन में ये नहीं आता।
आता है
अरे
ना, लेकिन
अभी
कॉस्ट
सर,
ऑडिटर कराता कौन है, रजनी जी? वो भी पैसे
कॉस्ट
घर
ऑडिट तो हर
के
साल
घर में एक्सेल
मैंडेटरी
शीट
है
में बना लेता है.
मैन्युफैक्चरिंग के लिए सर।
अरे सर अभी लेटेस्ट मैं बोलता हूँ. लास्ट मार्च वी वर ऑडिटेड बाय यूएस कंपनी फॉर दिस टैरिफ. वो बोलते हैं फैक्ट्री आने को टाइम नहीं तो वी विल डू वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंसिंग फ्रॉम द ऑफिस ओनली, फ्रॉम पुणे ऑफिस टू फैक्ट्री.
वेरी गुड।
ऐसे कॉस्ट ऑडिट हो जाता है.
आप
वो
मुझे फिगर शेयर कर दीजिए, मैं कर दूंगा ऑडिट।
और भाई
अभी वीडियो
ज्यादा
कॉन्फ्रेंस में आप
मतलब
इधर एक कोने में फैक्ट्री दिखा दिया, उसको क्या मालूम है घूम रहे हो आप कि एक ही रूम गोल 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 घुमा
सीरियसली,
रहे हो।
सीरियसली। और इंडियन करते हैं, फंसते कहाँ है ना, देखिए यूरोपियन बहुत स्मार्ट है इस एरिया में। उनका फेल सेफ मैकेनिज्म इज रियली गुड, एंड दे विल नॉट लिसन एट दैट पॉइंट इन टाइम। आज तो इस बंदे ने बैठे बैठे घर पे बैठ के सारा प्रीमाइस का फोटो लेके चिपका के कर दिया। जो ये फेल सेफ मैकेनिज्म यूरोप में लगाए हुए हैं वहां इनको पकड़ लेते हैं। नहीं तो चाइना में BYD, द वे दे वर सेलिंग व्हीकल्स टू यूरोप, nobody would ever caught them.
अरे
They
यार,
used to say, I'm bringing semi knockdown in Germany, and then we are assembling and selling. जबकि वर्चुअली पूरा ही केवल सामने का वो डब्बा नहीं रखता था। ऑल मशीन वर कमिंग एग्जैक्टली लाइक स्टार्टेड टुमारो। A simple mechanic can assemble and put it on the road. They had a safe fail mechanism. What is that? कि they have a supranationals auditors, ऑडिटर के ऊपर ऑडिटर लगा के रखा है। तो वो उसको, और उसके पास टाइम नहीं है, ऑडिटर के ऊपर ऑडिटर लगा के रखा है तो उसको टाइम नहीं है, वो सैंपल करता रहता है हमेशा। जिस दिन आप सैंपल में आ गए उस दिन आपको रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव पेनल्टी मार के पकड़ा देगा।
सही, एकदम सही।
डजंट केयर, ही डजंट केयर। उस समय वो सुनेगा ही नहीं कि आपने, नहीं वो आपका ही आदमी था, वही आया था। उसको अलग से देखेंगे किसने साइन किया। पहले तुम पेनाल्टी भरो। गवर्नमेंट का भी हमारा अभी ऐसे ही हो गया है। आप GST का देख लो, किसी ने
Even
किसी,
Volkswagen, it was the same case.
सेम केस, एब्सोल्युटली सेम केस। और वो क्या कर रहे थे, वो तो बैसल ही जो ये हमारा रहता है इंडिया में, हम लोग बोलते हैं ना भारत 4, भारत 6, वही उन लोगों ने मैनेज करके रख लिया था पूरा। खुद का टेस्टिंग सेंटर मतलब समझ लो उनका यूएस में था। दे यूज टू गो एंड गेट इट टेस्टेड एंड से दैट ओके दिस इज बैसल 7, 6 भी नहीं 7 है। और वो मैन्युफैक्चर करने के टाइम पे ही 4 बना के भेजते थे। पूरा पोल्यूशन करेगा। सो दिस इज हाउ people are getting caught in greenwashing. It might not be their mistake. It might be they are feeling they are very smart, right? Because somebody has done jugaad for them. But that jugaad will catch up because it's a long term discussion. It is not आपका ट्रेडिंग करके आपको ट्रेडिंग से निकल के मैन्युफैक्चरिंग चालू करनी है, वो नहीं है। ट्रेडर कम्युनिटी से हम आते हैं, हमको मतलब ही नहीं है आप क्या कर रहे हो फ्यूचर में। मैंने आपको सामान बेचा, मेरा काम खत्म, मेरे को 30 तक का मिल गया, 30% आई रिसीव्ड, माई वर्क फिनिशेस। दैट्स द मेंटालिटी वी नीड टू एड्रेस। एंड आई एम नॉट सेइंग समटाइम इट इज रिक्वायर्ड एज वेल। पूरी अगर इंडस्ट्री ऐसा है तो आप थोड़ी सिंगम बन जाओगे, तो खा जाएंगे आपको, मतलब चबा जाएंगे ये लोग। ट्रस्ट मी, मालूम, हैव यू हर्ड अबाउट सैंड माफियाज?
या
यार इट्स कॉमन। कोई वहां पे ऑनेस्ट हो ही नहीं सकता, पॉसिबल ही नहीं है।
If you go against them, they will even kill the people.
Will
Yes, they have been
absolutely
doing that also.
वो निकाल देंगे आपको बीच में से। तो आप कुछ ना करें तो बेटर है। आपको ऑनेस्ट रहना है, आप रहो, कोई आपको डिस्टर्ब नहीं करेगा। लेकिन आप ऑनेस्टी में सिंघम बनने की कोशिश करोगे तो आपको सिंघम का वो डबल बना देगा।
प्रसादा दे देगा, प्रसादा।
सो दैट इज द प्रॉब्लम विथ इंडिया। सो बेस्ट पार्ट इज यू डोंट डू इट। And if you do it, let it be little costly. No problem. Apple is selling in market. पब्लिक पागल है एप्पल के लिए, लोन लेके खरीद रही है, आपको मालूम है?
एप्पल हैज अ क्वालिटी ऑल्सो सर।
एब्सोल्यूट क्वालिटी, वही
आप
क्वालिटी
उसका
मेंटेन
सिस्टम
करिए।
देखिए, आपका जो मैकबुक है, मैं उस पर काम करती हूँ, मैं वर्कड ऑन द अदर्स ऑल्सो। माई एक्सपीरियंस इज गुड। आई डोंट नो अबाउट अदर्स, बट आई हैव रियली,
नो नो, दिस इज द प्रॉब्लम, एंड वंस यू फील गुड इट्स लाइक अ
आई हैव
फील।
नॉट शिफ्टेड फ्रॉम एप्पल फोन सिंस लास्ट 15 ईयर।
दैट्स इट, दैट इज द प्रॉब्लम।
अब लॉयल कस्टमर हूँ मैं उसकी शायद।
लॉयल कस्टमर बना देता है आपको क्योंकि आप जाओगे ना एंड्रॉइड पे तो फंक्शन ही नहीं करता। वो टोटली डिफरेंट एक तो ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम है, तो जो यहाँ पे जिस चीज से आपका क्लिक हो रहा था वहां पे उस चीज से क्लिक ही नहीं होता है। सो यू डोंट फील कंफर्टेबल फॉर अ मंथ एंड यू रिटर्न बैक। आदत लग ही नहीं सकती आपकी दूसरे की। जबकि एंड्रॉयड में ऐसा नहीं है। एंड्रॉयड में बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर है, तो वो कोई भी आदमी उसको चला सकता है, उसके लिए बनाया उसने। तो होता क्या है कि जैसे आपको टच करते हो एप्पल, यू फील कंप्लीटली लैविश, एंड देन यू स्टिक विथ इट।
It is also a status symbol, na?
उसके बाद स्टेटस सिंबल दे देता
स्टेटस तो
है।
मैं नहीं जानती सर, मैंने तो पहली बार जब लिया था मैंने भी लोन लिया था बाय द वे।
आपको तो लेना पड़ा होगा मैडम, यू आर सिटिंग विद ऑल द ऑनचोस एंड दे
नहीं
हैव
नहीं, ये हमारी
मैनेज्ड।
कंपनी भी हमको देती थी, लेकिन मैंने जब लिया था पहला तो मैंने लोन लिया था, आई रिकॉल। यस, मैंने क्रेडिट कार्ड से लिया था।
बिल्कुल, और इंडिया में उस समय बहुत महंगा भी था, मतलब जब लॉन्च था तो बहुत डिफरेंस था इंडिया वर्सेस।
मैं आईफोन 3 से यूज कर रही हूँ और मैं आईफोन 16 17 तक आ गई हूँ।
माय
अब
गुडनेस।
नेक्स्ट मैं कब बदलूंगी मुझे नहीं पता, लेकिन अब शायद नहीं बदल पाऊंगी क्योंकि अब आदत हो गई।
आईफोन 13 के बाद ज्यादा चेंजेस नहीं है।
हाँ
वो
सर,
भी एक
एक्चुअली नहीं है, यू आर
यूजिंग
राइट,
आईफोन
एक्चुअली
13
नहीं है।
एंड
अगर
देन
आप 13 14 के साथ चल रहे हैं तो बढ़िया है।
और इफेक्टिव भी है, मतलब एआई आपको यूज करना ही नहीं है तो आप क्या करोगे उसका,
नहीं
सिरी
सर,
की तरह
एआई
से।
एआई जो है 13 में फर्स्ट क्लास यूज होता है।
अच्छा है, उसमें यूज हो रहा है।
वैसा नहीं है जैसा 16 का है, बट
ओके।
नहीं, लेकिन अपग्रेड दे विल अपग्रेड आल्सो ना।
every third day they are sending some upgrade these days.
If you monitor that and upgrade it, then there is no issue.
ओके।
But still you have to shell out.
बैटरी 5 5 साल चल जाती है, ऐसा ही और क्या चाहिए आपको।
सही है, सही है। तो
सर ये ग्रीन
देखिए, हाँ।
वॉशिंग खत्म करते हैं फिर
हाँ,
थोड़ा।
ग्रीन वॉशिंग खत्म कर लेते हैं आज और उसके बाद क्लोज करते हैं। सो
जी।
आई हैव 3 स्लाइड्स टू
Already
कवर।
5:30.
हाँ,
और
अच्छा,
इसको
कम से कम चालू कर देते हैं जहां तक
yes,
हो जाए।
yes.
सो ग्रीन वॉशिंग इज हाउ यू यूज एज ए एसेट मैनेजर, दैट्स व्हाट वी आर लर्निंग हियर। ग्रीन वॉशिंग एवरीबडी नाउ अंडरस्टूड वेरी वेल। ग्रीन हशिंग है, ग्रीन वॉशिंग है, ग्रीन स्प्लैशिंग है, डिफरेंट टाइप्स आर देयर इन ग्रीन वॉशिंग। इट्स नॉट वन टाइप। Misrepresentation, different types, and all those misrepresentation has a different connotation, and that's why different name. But when asset manager has to look into greenwashing, he has to see that he's not misrepresenting their sustainability related practices or sustainability related feature. Because RFP में तो कुछ भी भर के डाल सकते हो ना। विस्के लिए लाया गया है, वो कोका कोला का एग्जाम्पल दिया है, बट लाया गया है कि भैया आप अगर कोका कोला में इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हो, आपको जानकारी नहीं है और आप बोलते हो कि मैं सस्टेनेबल इन्वेस्ट कंपनी में इन्वेस्ट कर रहा हूं, रॉन्ग है। पहले करेक्ट करो अपने आप को। क्लियर? I will judge you based on what you are writing in my RFP. I don't care that what was your mistake previously, right? So you need to do that due diligence as well. It varies. All green washing varies in the scope and severity. कोई लोग होते हैं कि केवल मार्केटिंग में करते हैं, एडिडास ट्वाइस कॉट 2 मिलियन का पेनल्टी, हमारे पास ब्लॉक पड़ा हुआ है, गो एंड रीड नाउ। मे इन्वॉल्व डिसेप्टिव मार्केटिंग प्रैक्टिसेस विच इज हियर हैपेंड। बोले क्या, ग्रीन उसका पट्टी कर दिया, एडिडास में 3 लाइन होती है राइट, उसको ग्रीन
हम्म।
कर दिया, बोला कि मैंने जो रबर लगाया है वो फुल्ली रिसाइक्लेबल है, सेम लाइक प्लास्टिक वाला कोका कोला। सो दोज आर द challenges we should be knowing. It is a deceptive marketing. और दूसरा deceptive marketing, wherever you see a product which is green and saying that I am organic, समझ लेना कि कुछ ना कुछ यहाँ चक्कर है। अगर आपने मेरा ग्रीन वॉशिंग टूल 7 पॉइंटर टूल है, बहुत छोटा टूल है, बट वाई हैव क्रिएटेड टू गिव अ कॉन्फिडेंस टू पीपल कि एटलीस्ट दीज 7 पॉइंटर्स एंड somebody has given 6 pointers today morning as well, right? If you look into those, you will catch a green washer. Company makes false statement about its ESG practices to appeal to customer, feel good. They get interested in environmentally friendly product and they think they are doing sustainable practices, but actually it is exactly opposite. And that's why greenwashing is a crime. That is why greenwashing is a crime, because you are misleading people. You are doing something, I'm okay, but you are misleading people, I do not want. And that is why different category of misrepresentation can come from commitment without any guarantee of action. That you committed that I will invest in only CCUS unit which will have lowest cost and highest carbon credit. Can you achieve it? पूछ रहा हूं आप लोगों से, कर सकते हो क्या ऐसा? सीसीयूएस का यूनिट 1 मिलियन से 10 करोड़ लेके आ जाओ। हाँ, इंडिया में कुछ लोग लेके आ रहे हैं, बट अभी वो टेक्नोलॉजी फुल प्रूफ है क्या? सो इट वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू
Such
इम्प्लीमेंट।
kind of a thing may not be.
Absolutely. So I am worried. I should be worried. I should be checking. I should be making sure that you are not misrepresenting this case. You are just committing for the sake of committing. अब कोई बोल दे कि मैं आपको कार्बन अकाउंटिंग 2 दिन में करके दे देता हूँ,
नहीं हो सकता।
तो लोग कर रहे हैं। मैंने बताया ना, मेरे पास तो लोग पड़े हुए हैं ऐसे, सॉफ्टवेयर वाला 4 लाख का नॉर्मल सॉफ्टवेयर है, इज रेडी टू गिव 50,000 का सब्सक्रिप्शन फॉर
हाँ,
6।
वो आपने बताया था, यस।
1 लाख रुपए साल में आप दो, सब्सक्रिप्शन आपको मिल जाएगी। मतलब चीपर देन एवरीडे पिज्जा, अगर कोई पिज्जा डेली खा रहा हो तो ले लेना चाहिए सॉफ्टवेयर। प्रॉब्लम है क्या वो मेंटेन कर पाएगा क्या, उस पैसे में अपडेट कर पाएगा क्या डेली? दोस क्लॉजेज ऑफ GRI GHG प्रोटोकॉल में जो डेली चेंजेस हो रहे हैं उसका इंसाइट लेके आ सकता है क्या? डेफरा का जो पूरा डॉक्यूमेंट चेंज हुआ अपडेट कर पाएगा क्या? रिसोर्स को किधर से एंगेज करेगा भाई? ही इज थिंकिंग इन फ्यूचर ही विल हैव millions of people to take his service and that's why he's doing it, but will his commitment will be met? Absolutely not. Product attribute सही है क्या? Does he have something reliable? He's saying it is green cover. I am using stuff. आपने चेक किया क्या कि वो ऑर्गेनिक स्टफ यूज कर रहा है? तो प्रोडक्ट एट्रीब्यूट के बारे में मिस रिप्रेजेंटेशन
You don't
लीड्स।
see Bible in your contacts. To who?
ओके,
You have no new messages.
सी AI is working now. Have you heard?
Yeah, is
Was it
this
audible?
AI is, have you timed up your this
No,
thing?
it's, I don't know which word it my laptop Siri works with. हे Siri बोलता हूँ मोबाइल तो चालू हो जाता है, which started, you see, can you see that?
हाँ हाँ हाँ,
Started. Hey Siri, my mobile works, but laptop wala, I don't know which word it picks, or it is actually
it
goofing.
keeps you reminding what, sir?
Sorry,
It keeps you reminding what
no,
is.
no. She was saying that you are asking for some name. That name is not available in your contact list.
Okay.
So I don't know how she picked up that I am asking something. I was to giving example, no product attributes.
इंटेंट सर, आपकी इंटेंट इंट्यूशन समझने लगी है।
वही लग रहा है, कुछ तो उसको पता चल रहा है भाई।
माइंडसेट आपका रीड कर रही है वो।
मतलब वो तो प्योर, अब मैं गुफा, ये क्या बोलते हैं, मैं गेम हो गया हूँ। Okay, and then you have reputational consequences of greenwashing, which is longer term, systematic risk of undermining trust. Suddenly, whole world will lose confidence in you. Best case is बाइजू। कितना भी आके आप सफाई दे दो, कोई नहीं मानने वाला है। उन्होंने इतना आके बताया कि मैं नहीं भागा हूँ। बाइजू का, हैव यू हर्ड द न्यू ब्लॉग, राइट, पॉडकास्ट? इफ
Yeah,
नॉट,
he's coming back saying that.
you know what people are saying now against him? पीपल आर सेइंग ये वो बंदा है जो बोल रहा है मैंने कुछ नहीं किया, और ये वो बंदा है बोला मैं फादर को लेके दुबई में गया वहां बस गया है। ये वही बंदा है जिसने बैकडोर से इन्वेस्टर से पैसे लिए, ठीक है, गलत कंपनियों को खरीद के, ओवर वैल्यूएशन करा के, गलत कंपनियों का ओवर वैल्यूएशन कराया, उसके बाद इन्वेस्टर से पैसा लिया उनको खरीदने के लिए, एंड देन टुक दैट मनी बैक फ्रॉम दोज कंपनीज एंड गिवन टू द इन्वेस्टर एंड टुक अ हाउस इन दुबई। अब ऐसा चल रहा है उसके बारे में, बताइए अब।
My God.
क्या कुछ नहीं किया उसने?
वो बोलता है कुछ नहीं किया, मतलब पूरा आके उसने सफाई दिया 2 घंटे का।
क्या कुछ नहीं किया उसने? एक के बाद एक काम किया, कांड किया।
13 कंपनियां खरीदी ऐसी, एक नहीं,
आपको
13
ओवर वैल्यू
खरीदी।
कराया और उसको फिर आगे इन्वेस्टर से पैसा मारा, वो गलत किया, उसको डिसीव किया। कितने लोगों को डिसीव करते हुए गया? ओवर वैल्यू किया, आपने
देखिए,
बोर्ड को डिसीव किया।
सबसे बड़ी गलती क्या करी रजनी जी, आप समझिएगा, सबसे बड़ी गलती करी कि उस रिक्शा वाला का, द पुअरेस्ट ऑफ द पुअरेस्ट पीपल को उसने रॉन्ग प्रोडक्ट बेचा। इसीलिए बोलते हैं कि करो जितना आपको करना है, बिजनेस करो। बिजनेस इज ऑल अबाउट मनी मेकिंग, इज ऑल अबाउट ट्रिक्स एंड ट्रीट्स, राइट? मनी मेकिंग इज ऑल अबाउट दैट, वैल्यू एड्स। बट मनी मेकिंग इज ऑल्सो नॉट अबाउट गेट द बैड वाइब्स फ्रॉम समबडी अननेसेसरली। क्या जरूरत थी वो रिक्शा वाले को बेचने की? इतना एग्रेसिव जाने की क्या जरूरत थी, और वो भी थ्रेटनिंग करके कि तेरा बच्चा नहीं बन पाएगा, बगल वाले का आईएएस बन गया, राइट? दैट वाज रॉन्ग। और आप बोल रहे हो अभी पॉडकास्ट में उन्होंने बताया कि नहीं नहीं, दिस वाज नॉट माय स्टेटमेंट, आई डिडंट नो व्हाट हैपेंड व्हेन वी आर बिग, यू डू नॉट नो व्हाट जूनियर्स आर डूइंग। दैट इज व्हाई यू नीड सिस्टम, नो? व्हेन यू गॉट मनी, इंस्टेड ऑफ बाइंग अ
यू
न्यू,
आर रिस्पॉन्सिबल इवन इफ दे वर डूइंग रॉन्ग।
हाँ, मतलब आप बोलोगे क्या,
भाई से
एलआईसी बोल
भाई
सकते?
से कि आईआरसीटीसी में किसी ने ये काम नहीं किया तो मुझे नहीं पता, इग्नोरेंस शो कर दूंगा, वो गलत है।
गलत है ना?
आप टॉप पर हो ना, आप सारी जिम्मेदारी अच्छे बुरे की, अच्छे का क्रेडिट
सबकी
लेके
लेनी
ऊपर भी लो,
पड़ेगी। हाँ,
ऊपर भी
तो
लो।
आज वो बोल रहे हैं कि नहीं मेरा उसमें गलती नहीं है, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इतनी बड़ी हो गई थी कि 1% में भी 1 करोड़ लोग आते हैं, ऐसा उसकी वाइफ डिस्क्राइब कर रही थी, ठीक है? एंड आई नो देम, दे आर नॉट लाइक दैट। पूरा का पूरा स्क्रिप्ट पढ़ के ये लोग बोल रहे थे, ओके? And they might be genuine as well.
री एंट्री इन द मार्केट से वो अपने पाप धोना चाह रहे हैं,
तो गलत है ना, लोग
तो
इतने
लोग
मान।
मान ना जाए, बस इनके झांसे में दोबारा ना आ जाए।
आई होप नॉट।
तो शाहरुख खान जो है इसका वो था ब्रांड
अब
एम्बेसडर।
कहाँ से हायर कर लिया बता, वो तो छोड़िए, मेसी को हायर किया था, फीफा वर्ल्ड कप इन लोगों ने स्पॉन्सर करी थी।
शाहरुख से भी ज्यादा पैसा लिया होगा उसने तो।
अरे पागलों जैसा पैसा, फीफा वर्ल्ड कप स्पॉन्सर करने के लिए कोका कोला की हिम्मत नहीं पड़ती है। और ये कर रहे थे बाइजू वाले। या कि मेरा जो ऑडियंस कलकत्ता में है उस वो फुटबॉलर्स को लव करते हैं, मेरा जो ऑडियंस केरला में है वो फुटबॉलर्स को लव करते हैं। अरे भैया।
में इनका पैसा काफी लॉस हुआ।
है, और अबू धाबी में हो रहा था तो हमने सोचा पूरी फैमिली जाके बैठेंगे, और अपने फैमिली को नहीं, जितनी कंपनी उनकी इन्वेस्टर कंपनी थी सारे को इनवाइट करवाया था इन लोगों ने। वो एक्चुअली इन्वेस्टर नहीं, मजे करने के लिए इनको पैसे देके कंपनियां खरीदवाए और स्पॉन्सरशिप करवाया था। ये किसी को देखिए, जिस दिन खुलेगा ना, इन्वेस्टर तो जरूर फंसेंगे इसमें, उनका भी है कुछ ना कुछ रोल, फॉर श्योर। बट प्रॉब्लम क्या है ना इसमें,
इन्वेस्टर का भी तो अपना पैसा नहीं होता ना, वो भी तो कहीं ना
वही
कहीं।
वही प्रॉब्लम है ना। तो इन्वेस्टर, जिसने पैसा दिया इन्वेस्टर को, वो खुद ही छुपा रहा होता है कि मैंने दिया
और
हुआ।
उसके पास अलग दूसरा पैसा होता है। एक
And
सब
that is
सोचा
why the game
होता
is. Okay, so this is the reputational consequences which we should be worried about. We should, how you can use and data to combat it. They have given a methodology that develop a same level of resource and competence as is available for assessing misleading financial claims. जैसा वहाँ ड्यू डिलिजेंस आप करते हो, रेटिंग एजेंसी लगाते हो, फैक्ट फाइंडिंग टीम लगाते हो, आपको ईएसजी में भी करना चाहिए। That's what it has been suggested. This way, you can ensure that ESG scoring system used in ESG investing gives the company credit based on the performance and the data transparency is available. If not, don't invest. Countries, specific countries which has a distinct strategic priority that hinder the harmonization of ESG standard need to be looked carefully. For example, China. Greater data transparency, clarity, and consistency about green claims ultimately brings the confidence about reliability of the sustainable disclosure. So transparency, transparency and transparency, 3 बार मैंने बोल दिया। यही एक सॉल्यूशन है ग्रीन वॉशिंग का। समझ में आ गई बात? कैसे
है।
इम्पैक्ट को असेस करेंगे? मार्केट रिस्क से, इन्वायरमेंटल चेक करके, सोशल चेक करके, गवर्नेंस चेक करके, कॉन्सिक्वेंस ऑफ क्विटिंग चेक करके, ग्रीन हशिंग एक उसका तरीका है, स्कोप वॉशिंग एक
ग्रीन
तरीका
हशिंग
है।
सर, ग्रीन हशिंग एंड स्कोप वॉशिंग।
सब कल आगे है, आपको पूरा पिक्चर दिखा के बताएंगे हम लोग। ओके, बट वेट, या अभी कल केवल बता रहा हूँ। कल करेंगे उसको, कल कर लेते हैं, थोड़ा सा रिलैक्स कर देते हैं, आप लोग भी पढ़ो। कॉम्पिटेंस ग्रीन वॉशिंग, हाउ टू एड्रेस ग्रीन वॉशिंग, डेवलप अ सेम लेवल ऑफ रिसोर्स एंड कॉम्पिटेंस विच इज अवेलेबल फॉर असेसिंग मिसलीडिंग फाइनेंशियल क्लेम। जैसे ऑडिटर लगाते हो, ड्यू डिलिजेंस की टीम लगाते हो, पता करते हो कि इसका फाइनेंशियल क्लेम सही है कि नहीं, आरएफपी में डिस्क्लोजर लगवाते हो एक्सेट्रा, जो कि आरएफ की पी का ही पार्ट चल रहा है अभी। ग्रीन वॉशिंग इज नॉट ए इंडिपेंडेंट टॉपिक हियर। ग्रीन वॉशिंग इज अ पार्ट दैट द इन्वेस्ट एसेट मैनेजर विच आई एम हायरिंग, ही इज नॉट डूइंग ग्रीन वॉशिंग विथ मी, क्योंकि वो तो कर ही रहा है गलत कंपनी में लगा के, मैं भी फंसूंगा। तो मैं क्या करूंगा, सीधा अमेरिकन कोर्ट में जाऊंगा और अपने को डिसएसोसिएट इनके साथ कर दूंगा। And in that case, they have to stop doing this nonsensical business. Are you with me? This is how we have come to end of the session today. Let me take this tomorrow. We have another 2 3 slides. It's of course I have to cover up to 8 9.8 तक है. I will cover that tomorrow, and with that we will end the session. जितने लोगों का प्रेजेंटेशन बाकी है, कल करें कि परसों करें, फ्राइडे करें?
What time tomorrow?
ओह, सेम टाइम, मोस्ट प्रोबब्ली 4 o'clock.
Okay.
ठीक है, विल डू
Okay.
इट।
तो पहले से प्रेजेंटेशन होगा फिर क्लास होगी।
4:30,
हाँ,
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock करते हैं।
ठीक
Okay, okay,
15 मिनट का अलाउंस मुझे दे देना आप, क्योंकि बड़ा
ठीक
रहता
है।
है।
okay.
ठीक
ओके, बाय, टेक केयर, गुड डे, सब
Bye.
है।
रिकॉर्डिंग दे दीजिएगा सर।
हाँ, रिकॉर्डिंग इसका मिल जाएगा। बहुत
ठीक
लेकिन
है।
अलू जलू रहता है, वो सब कट मेरे करने के लिए कोई टीम ही नहीं मिल रही है, वो सब कट कराना है सारा। चलिए, एनीवे आई एम सेंडिंग, बाय बाय।
Okay.
ठीक है, राइट।